we are reaching the climax. As the President is going to deliver the NEC January 8th statement for 108th birthday of the ANC, I think it is important to appreciate the fact that yes, it is the NEC of the ANC statement, but we must appreciate the fact that Istwalando is Aparangwe, ANC, Mamusofi, Uba Umlangin are part of this statement, even if they are not in the NEC. They are the Aparangwe, Istwalando of the ANC. If veterans Zetu, they are part of this movement, they are the source of wisdom, they are the source of guidance for the ANC. Illegs Zetu, all three of them, the Veterans League, the Women's League, the Youth League, are part of this statement. Now I'm going to give the President the opportunity to deliver the NEC statement. You must remember, comrades, that it is not something that is happening by accident, that we're about to finish during lunch, not at 5, not at 4, is because we are seriously inculcating the buffalo time in our work, so that we start early and we finish on time. Now, there are representatives of all our provinces here, so they are part of this message. Representatives of all our provinces are here. Now I'm calling the President of the ANC, President Cyril Ramaphosa, to come on stage.
Amandla! Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Long live the spirit of Sol Plaiki, long live! Long live the spirit of Memitas Perepere, long live! Long live the spirit of Nelson Mandela, long live! Amandla! Long live the spirit of Mayor Francis Bard, long live! Amandla! Dumela! Goeiemiddag! Sanbonan! Abshe! Demasiare! Comrades and friends, I'd like to start off by extending our greetings to our honored guest, His Excellency, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, the Deputy President of our movement, David Dabete Mabuza, national officials of the African National Congress, members of the National Executive Committee, leaders of the ANC Women's League, the Veterans League, and the Youth League, leaders of Umkhonto Wesizwe Military Veterans Association and MK Council, and all other combatants, leaders of the SACP, COSATU, and SANCO, Izithwalandwe, Ubaba u-Andrew Mlangeni, le mess of the brain. Representatives of fraternal parties, particularly from ZANU-PF, MPLA from Angola, Basotho National Party from Lesotho, Botswana Democratic Party from Botswana, All Basotho Convention from Lesotho, to you all, the people of Northern Cape, comrades and friends, and fellow South Africans. Ons vergader hier vandag in die staat van Kimberley en die provinsie van die Noord-Kaap om die 108ste herdenking van die totstandkoming van die ANC te vier. We have come together where the coup, the sun, the Korana, Batlaping, Batloro, Magrikwa, Botswana courageously fought against the colonial occupation of their land and the subjugation of their people. We are gathered where great leaders of our people were born and fought for our freedom. On this day and at this place, we pay tribute to the likes of Saul Blaikie, the first Secretary General of the African National Congress, and to leaders like Charlotte Maxeke, Z.R. Mahabane, Z.K. Matthews, Francis Bard, John Taulo Khaiziwi, and Mita Sepereper. We are gathered in a special place where it is still possible to hear our people converse in the oldest indigenous languages of our nation. Languages like Nju, Nama, Pu, and Kwe. We are gathered in the province where South Africa's mineral and industrial revolution began with the discovery of diamonds in Hopetown, Berkeley West, and in Kimberley. We are also gathered in the province that hosts the SKA, the Square Kilometer Array, which is the world's largest radio telescope and is also home to the largest solar energy plant of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. Over the past week, we, the leadership of the African National Congress, have walked the streets of this province. We visited the homes of our people in this province, and we've had deep, meaningful conversations with many of our people in this province. We have spoken with you, the people of the Northern Cape, about your lives, about the challenges that you face, about your wishes and aspirations. Kuleli viki lonke besinani sihamba singena ezindlini zenu sithetha nani siva yonke ingcelo yeimpilo zenu. You have told us about the progress you have seen, the schools, the clinics that have been built, the electricity and water that now comes from your homes. You've also told us about business opportunities and the improved roads where you live. But you also told us about the problems that have to do with the lack of jobs. You told us in no uncertain terms, "Hore a le sebetse, julle het nie werk nie." You also told us about the devastating drought. You also told us, and we saw for ourselves, the streets that are not maintained, the taps that do not have running water, the drains that don't work. But you also told us about alcohol abuse and crime in places where you live. You've also told us that you have confidence that the ANC will be able to address and resolve the problems that you face. In fact, as we went around, we found that the people of Northern Cape actually love the African National Congress. We heard from you about your love and affection for the ANC, and you also told us that you believe that it is only the ANC that can address the challenges that you face. Le re boditse gore ke ANC hela e ka kgonang go lokisa mathata le go rarolla mathata a bophelo ba nyena. Today, we are releasing the January 8th statement of the African National Congress National Executive Committee, which sets out the priorities and tasks of our movement for 2020. This statement speaks directly to the experiences and aspirations of the people who we have met with and spoken with over the last week. This, comrades and friends, is a decisive moment for our country as we begin a new decade, a decade of hope and a decade of expectation, and also a decade of promise and opportunity. Despite the hardships that we face, and there are many hardships that our country faces, that our people face, our nation remains united in its resolve to overcome the challenges of the present and realize Vision 2030 of the National Development Plan. We are encouraged and inspired by many young South Africans who are forging a new path of progress and achievement. We must take a moment and congratulate the matriculants of 2019 for having achieved overall pass rate for the first time in our history of more than 80%. Arba shapeleng matsogo. This represents progress. Much as we are facing challenges and difficulties, this represents progress that we can be proud of. We also congratulate our rugby world champions, the Springboks, for having brought home the World Rugby Cup and made South Africa proud. We also congratulate our own Miss Universe, Zozibini Tunzi, the most beautiful girl in the whole world, who is South African. Sorry, Prime Minister Abiy, we happen to have the most beautiful girl in the whole world, and she is South African, and we hope the next one will be Ethiopian. We wish you luck on that. We also want to congratulate the Ndlovu Youth Choir, and many others who have shown the world what young South Africans are capable of. These are wonderful achievements that the young people of our country are achieving for our country to make our country great. We will work together to realize the enormous potential of our youth by tackling joblessness, poverty and inequality, by ending hunger and homelessness, and developing the skills that our people and our economy need. We will act with urgency and purpose. We have heard you, and we have heard you say that we must hurry up and implement our policies. You have said very clearly to us, khawuleza, work very quickly, because our people are in great need. While we dare not ignore the challenges we face, our program of transformation remains ambitious, and our determination to succeed must also be unwavering. This is a pivotal period in the history of the African National Congress as we strive for social and economic freedom under challenging conditions. Just over 2 years ago, we emerged from the ANC's 54th National Conference, tasked with the responsibility to unify and unite and renew our movement. Much progress has been made, but this task remains far from complete. In the year ahead, we must make irreversible progress in building a united, ethical, and strong ANC that is able to effectively serve the people of South Africa. The fundamental goal of the African National Congress remains the creation of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous society. It has a historic mission to unite all the people of South Africa for the complete liberation of our society and of blacks in general and Africans in particular from all forms of oppression and economic exclusion. We must unite our society in order to transform it, and we must transform our society in order to unite it. In identifying and executing the tasks necessary to confront these challenges, we must know our past and understand our present and be able to chart a better future for the people of South Africa. We must honor and pay tribute to those whose struggles and sacrifices brought us freedom and democracy. We must draw guidance and inspiration from their example. This year we celebrate the centenary years of several great leaders of our nation. These include Raymond Mhlaba, Harry Gwala, Vuyisile Mini, Rusty Bernstein, and Robert Gesha. This is also the centenary of the birth of Eduardo Mondlane, the founder and the president of Frelimo, whose close relationship with ANC President Oliver Tambo laid the foundation for the joint military operations between Umkhonto Wesizwe and Frelimo fighters in Portuguese-occupied Mozambique. During the course of 2020, we will organize events to recall the achievements of these great leaders and honor their contribution to our freedom. We also mark several significant milestones in the history of the ANC, the broad liberation movement in our country. It is 200 years since the arrival of the 1820 British settlers in the Eastern Cape, an event that accelerated the process of colonial occupation and deepened the contest for land and resources. It is 65 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter at the Congress of the People in Kliptown. Representing the views and demands of the South African people, the Freedom Charter sets out the fundamental vision of our democratic nation. This year will be 60 years since the Sharpeville massacre, in which 69 peaceful protesters were killed by the apartheid police, ushering in a new period of repression and resistance. It is also 60 years since the ANC and PAC were banned, driving opposition to apartheid underground and the leadership of the movement into exile. In 2020, we will be celebrating 30 years since the unbanning of the ANC, the PAC, SACP, and other organizations, and the release of Nelson Mandela and other political prisoners, which set the stage for negotiations and the transition to democracy in South Africa. These, comrades, are but just some of the milestones in a history, and may I add, a proud history characterized by courage, commitment, sacrifice, and selfless service to the people of our country. The 108 years of the existence of the ANC have been marked by advances and setbacks, progress and detours, mistakes and corrections. Our movement has shown its ability to heal and unite the people of our country, but also to heal the divisions, the ability to analyze changing conditions and adapt strategies and tactics, as well as the resilience to stay the course and keep the ANC alive under the most trying circumstances. Through their votes in the election last year, the people of South Africa signaled their clear expectation that the ANC undergo a process of renewal. We have heard and understood the message that the people's continued support for the ANC is conditional on the revitalization of the organization as an effective instrument of fundamental change. As we celebrate the 65th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, we must give effect to the profound statement that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. Our priorities this year will be informed by the demands contained in that historic document, which continues to guide everything that we do. But it will also, our approach and the priorities will also be guided by the life experiences of our people on the ground. Our first priority, comrades, is to build a capable state that serves all the people of South Africa. We will continue to restore our public institutions to a higher standard of accountability and service. It is therefore vital that government at all levels works to advance the interests of our people. Local government, which is closest to where our people live and work, must perform its functions efficiently and consistently. we have started the process of effective performance evaluation at the local government level. We will be focusing on the capabilities, the commitment and integrity of those who are deployed to serve our people at that local government level, and may I add, yes, at provincial as well as at national level. Where there is poor or no performance, there will be consequences. Already steps have been taken to evaluate the performance of our deployees. We will ensure that we root out bad performance. We will ensure that those who do not perform the duties that they are supposed to perform are dealt with, and there is consequence management. Corruption at all levels of government will stop, and the stealing of public resources and the money that should go to serve the poor will be dealt with quite severely. We must restore the integrity and the capability of the state, which has faced a number of challenges in the past few years. As part of the measures the ANC has adopted to address weaknesses in local government, we are beginning to implement the district development model to integrate planning, coordination, budgeting across all three spheres of government to drive local development. This means that national, provincial, local government must develop one plan and one budget for each district across the country. We have 44 districts and 8 metros. What this means is that each of our districts and each of our metros must have one plan and one budget. There must also be transparency where the people of our country see what the plan is and see what the budget is, and also see how that budget is being utilized so that we can end corruption at all stages. We must bridge the divide between South Africans. Our second priority, rather, is an important one, but before I get to that one, as we strengthen local government to serve the people, we also expect our communities to also play their part by executing their own responsibilities. And this is about paying for the services that are delivered by our government entities. We've got to restore the culture of payment so that we can strengthen the state and ensure that the state has enough resources to continue serving our people. Our second priority is to build a united and cohesive society. We must bridge the divide between South Africans, be they economic, social, political, or cultural. To build a united society, we must recognize the equal rights of all South Africans to share in the country's wealth and its land. We must ensure that every South African appreciates their equal right to call this country their home. Ons moet toesien dat elke Suid-Afrikaner hul gelyke reg waardeer om hierdie land tuis te roep. All South Africans must feel that they have a future and a home here. Ma-Afrika Borwa ohle a tlamehile hore ba ikutlwe hore Afrika Borwa ke lehae la bona. We need to build a non-sexist society in which all forms of gender discrimination, oppression, exploitation, and violence are eradicated. And this we intend to continue doing. We need full gender equality in all areas of life, from the home to the workplace, from the economy to the sports field. Unequal pay that is often practiced by a number of companies between men and women must come to an end. We want equal pay between men and women for the same type of job that is done. But the same goes for equal pay amongst all our people without discrimination on the basis of any form of race. We must end the exclusion and the marginalization of people with disabilities. Disabled people in our country are just as equal as all of us as South Africans. We must make this a priority that disabled people in South Africa have a space, have a place where they can work, where they can also earn a living. And we call for employers, including the state, to open up opportunities on an ongoing basis for disabled people to be economically active on a continuous basis. We need to confront discrimination, prejudice, and violence directed against members of the LGBTIQ+ community, giving real effect to the right to equality contained in our Constitution. Every one of us must act in solidarity when we see injustice, and we must individually ensure and collectively ensure that we hold accountable those who choose to discriminate and exclude others. Our third priority is to pursue investment and jobs and inclusive growth. The Freedom Charter's call that the people shall share in the country's wealth, that there shall be work, security, and that the wealth shall be shared remains relevant. The creation of jobs remains our central priority for 2020. Many of our people are unemployed. This continues to be an area of focus by the African National Congress. To achieve a far greater pace of economic growth, we will step up our investment drive, launch a massive infrastructure build program, reduce the cost of doing business, and see to the creation of jobs and expand pathways for young people into the world of work. Our intention is to create as many jobs for young people as possible. We will unlock the potential of small business, cooperatives, and the township economy. We will continue to revamp and reopen industrial parks in our townships and in our rural areas to enhance job creation. We will continue to promote sectors like manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, and the oceans economy as major areas for employment growth. More special economic zones will be opened for further employment creation, as we have seen that they are quite effective job creators. For all these efforts to succeed, we must ensure the stability of our electricity supply. This means that we must accelerate the introduction of new electricity generation by private companies. We must also find new sources of energy, such as gas and intermediate energy that we so need right now, that can be brought on ships. We must complete the measures undertaken to ensure the financial and operational stability of Eskom. We will accelerate the process of transforming Eskom into an effective and reliable electricity supplier that can operate in an open, competitive energy sector. Eskom will be restored to becoming a company that can provide energy. And I want to stress once again, those who think that we want to privatize Eskom, I want to say to you, we are not going to privatize Eskom. We are going to strengthen Eskom so that it can deliver energy as it should. Right now, yes, we understand very clearly the concerns that South Africans have about the load shedding that we continue to have almost on a daily basis. These are challenges that we are addressing. These are challenges that we will succeed in addressing. Eskom is the largest company in our country. It is too big to fail, and we will not allow Eskom to fail. Instead, we will rebuild it and support it so that it can execute its developmental mandate. At the same time, Eskom, its management and its board must continue to ensure that they maintain their power stations. Eskom's power stations, many of them are old. The new ones that we've built still have a number of design challenges, and that is why they keep on tripping and leading to load shedding. Now I will say, obviously this has a negative impact on our economy and on the lives of our people, particularly those who are in hospitals. And we therefore are urging the management, and we will support them and strengthen them to move with speed to restore, maintain those power stations, and also that the new energy that we are saying we will procure through various means should come on stream. The Deputy President will be leading the war room and working with other ministers as well as the management of Eskom and the board to ensure that Eskom is restored. And I have no doubt in my mind that we will restore Eskom. Given the effects of climate change, we must also take decisive measures to reduce our carbon footprint in line with our international commitments. This must be done in a manner that is sustainable and ensures a just transition for workers and communities that may be affected. In the end, as we do this, we want to work with our workers, with labor, to ensure that there is a just transition indeed. Water is a valuable commodity. We need to act decisively to protect our scarce source of water resources and to ensure that all people have equitable access and respond to the devastating effects of successive droughts, The drought here in the Northern Cape, in the Eastern Cape, in the Free State, in KZN, and in some parts of the Western Cape has been quite severe. Here in the Northern Cape, 80% of the province is in the grip of a severe drought that has not been seen in decades. We have decided that we should act immediately by providing relief of 300 million to the Northern Cape to help with the drought so that we can address this drought situation. On swoop that salbaya help, retsepa hore, thuso ena ka nnete e tla leka hore e thuse batho le bao ba lemang. And of course, our efforts to help will also extend to other provinces. Minister of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation had a long meeting with our Premier here, and they were able to find one another, and that is where we were able to come up with a decision that we need to respond with immediate effect to a province which is covered by 80% of drought effects. Such action is essential for the development of our economy and the realization of the constitutional right of all South Africans to have sufficient food and water. Our fourth priority is an effective land reform program. The struggle to return the land to this country, to all the people of South Africa, remains a historical and economic imperative. We recall the words of our leader, Saul Plaatje, the first Secretary General of the ANC, who said at the time that the Land Act would create conditions, if not amounting to extermination, yet designed to enslave the natives of this country. That tyrannical mandate is scattering multitudes of natives from their homes. They may enter either into perpetual bondage on the farm or spend a sunless life in the unwholesome mine. Close quote. That is how Saul Plaatje saw the devastating effect of the Land Act in 1913. It is to address this persistent injustice that we are proceeding with the implementation of an accelerated land reform program to provide land to those who work it and who need it, including young people and women. We urge all ANC structures and all South Africans to have their say on the proposed amendments to Section 25 of the Constitution on the issue of expropriation of land without compensation. What this means, comrades, is that we are going to move ahead with the decision that was taken at our 54th conference to expropriate land without compensation, because land still remains the sore and the wound that our people still carry over all these years. All legislative efforts to accelerate the land to the people will be done in terms of our Constitution and in terms of all the provisions of our laws. We will support those who have acquired agricultural land. The return of the land will happen in a manner that promotes economic growth and sustains food security. Our fifth priority is to eradicate poverty and improve people's lives. We will intensify both job creation and other measures to improve the lives of the poor people in our country. This includes the provision of electricity, water, sanitation, and other services to those South Africans who still do not have access to them. As we walked around in this province, we saw and realized that yes, there are still a number of challenges, and one of those is housing. Housing remains a major challenge in this province. Where we went around, we found that up to 6 families live in a 4-bedroomed house. And that is something that has to be addressed, and we are going to address it. We also found that a number of shacks, informal settlements, are coming up on an ongoing basis. And we're now developing a plan to come up with a catalytic project to eradicate informal settlements here in the Northern Cape and utilize this province as a very effective model of what we need to do around the country. We will work to reduce the cost of living for the poor and working people generally through better public transport and lower costs of electricity. We will work to improve access to all to quality health care, focusing in particular on the introduction of the National Health Insurance. Our 6th priority is education and skills for a changing world. The matric results released this week demonstrate that South Africa has made great strides in improving educational outcomes over the last 25 years, particularly in townships and rural schools. However, we must do more to effectively prepare South African youth for the society and economy of the future. We will continue to adapt the curriculum to prepare learners for the 4th Industrial Revolution. The private sector and partners must work with training authorities to develop skills that our economy needs. Our 7th priority is social cohesion and safe communities. We will ensure that our law enforcement agencies are supported so that they can investigate thoroughly and prosecute effectively without fear or favor. We will intensify our efforts to end state capture in all its forms, to ensure those responsible are held accountable and that all the money that was stolen from government or public bodies is recovered. Tšhelete eo e utswitseng e laba gore e buya re khwa e tota heyo tšhelete yo tshwiwago gore e buye le tšhelete ya lushaka a se tšhelete ya motho o tifetse. We will strengthen the ability of the ANC's Integrity Commission to act decisively without fear or favor against those within our ranks who are implicated in corrupt activity. We will work to make our streets, our homes and communities safer through improved police visibility, more effective training of police, and greater involvement of community policing and safety forums in fighting crimes. Our final priority is to build a better Africa, a better world. Africa is poised on the threshold of a new era of integration, growth, and prosperity development. But to seize these opportunities requires concerted effort to silence the guns. We want to commend our brother here, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, on being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2019, affirming the determination of the people of Ethiopia and of the continent to strive for lasting peace. In advancing African unity and solidarity, we must work to resolve conflicts in Libya, South Sudan, Somalia, the Eastern DRC, and other regions that are affected by terrorism and unrest. The countries of Africa need to be united in support of multilateralism and in the reform of global institutions. And in line with the decisions of our 54th conference, we will intensify actions to support and to act in solidarity with our Palestinians, brothers and sisters, the Sahrawi brothers and sisters, the Kurdish people, and all people who suffer occupation, oppression, and discrimination. In the context of the pursuit of global peace, the ANC is concerned by the provocative military actions of the United States in Iraq that resulted in the Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. We urge all parties to exercise maximum restraint. The international community is called upon to make every effort to ensure that the crisis in that region is resolved peacefully. On the 30th anniversary of the ANC's return from exile, preparations are in progress to bring back to South Africa the mortal remains of former ANC Secretary General Dumano Kwe and former ANC Women's League President Florence Moposho, as well as to honor the bravery of the Lutuli detachment during the Wanki and Sipololo campaigns. Comrades and friends, based on these priorities, the ANC has identified a number of tasks that should guide the work of all ANC leaders, members, public representatives, and supporters in 2019. During this year, we will and must renew the ANC as the most effective force for social change, rebuilding branches as centers for community development, and rolling out a mass political education campaign. We must and will build a movement that is united in action by healing the divisions within our organization and alliance, and placing the interests of the people above all other interests. We will prepare for a decisive local government mandate by strengthening local government, reviewing the selection of local government and candidates, and meeting with communities on their needs and concerns. We must mobilize social partners to grow and transform the economy of our country by focusing all efforts on increasing investment, stimulating growth, developing skills development, as well as removing all impediments for greater economic activity. We will strengthen governance and tackle corruption by continuing to rebuild public institutions and ensuring that all appointees are fit for purpose and demonstrate the highest levels of integrity. We will have to end and must work very hard to end gender-based violence and femicide by mobilizing our communities, civil societies, faith-based organizations, and others to confront violence against women and children in all forms. And this is where our ANC branches, our ANC leadership at all levels need to devote time, energy, and effort. The shame and the scourge of gender-based violence in our country must be brought to an end. Men must be brought to stop abusing women, raping women, and killing the women and the young women of our country. The ANC must take the lead in bringing this to an end. I want to applaud the ANC Women's League for having taken up this challenge and has worked extremely hard to raise the level of consciousness and has campaigned very hard. Malibongwe. Malibongwe. We thank the leadership of the ANC Women's League for all it continues to do in this regard. We will work for peace, integration and development in Africa by working with fraternal organizations across the continent for the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to advance peace and stability and to promote sustainable growth and development. Comrades and friends, on this occasion, the ANC honors the courage, the dedication and selfless service of those veterans, stalwarts and activists who passed away over the past year. We dip our banner in honor of the comrades who have departed. His Majesty King Mpendulo Zwelonke Sigao is one of those that we pay tribute to and honor. Comrade Ben Turok, Rhoda Jumat, Bavelile Hlongwa, Ibrahim Mula, Dumisani Kumalo, Mfengu Makalima, Tuliswa Nkabinde Kawe, Eddie Naya, General Isaac Lisiba Mapoto, Nomhle Nkonyeni, Johnny Clegg, Mam Agnes Dlamini, Mahang Mereki Polokhani, Thandi Ndlovu, Thobile Mhlalo, Mam Joyce Jili Mkhize, Duma Ndleleni, Sindisiwe Ndlovu, Andile Gumbi, Rose Nkondo, Sandile Dikeni, David Kolwane, Dorothy Masuku, Hugh Lewin, Richard Maponya, and Archie Lucas. These are some of those comrades who made a contribution for whom we dip our flag to them today. We also join the people of Zimbabwe and the continent in mourning the passing of President Robert Mugabe, an icon of African liberation. May their lives and their contributions continue to inspire all of us as we continue with their work. Fellow South Africans, the fundamental transformation of South African society and the economy requires the efforts, ingenuity, and energy of all South Africans working together in pursuit of a shared vision. We therefore call on the workers of South Africa to unite and intensify the struggle for a living wage and decent working conditions, and to be partners in the urgent task of promoting investment, growing an inclusive economy, and creating jobs. We call on young people and students to lead the skills revolution and to be champions of innovation and entrepreneurship. We call on the women of our country to remain at the forefront of struggles for equality and justice, to challenge patriarchy in whatever form it takes. We call on civil society formations to continue to champion the values of our democratic constitution and to fight for social justice and equality. We call on faith-based organizations and the leaders to continue to provide spiritual and moral guidance to society and to care for the poor and the marginalized and the mistreated in our country. We call on all farmers, farm workers, and traditional leaders to work together in support of meaningful land and agrarian reform and to build relations of trust and respect within rural communities. We call on business leaders to support the national effort to grow an inclusive economy through greater investment in productive sectors of the economy and by providing and promoting ethical business and progressive labor practices, and to get off corruption within the ranks of the private sector as well. We call on cultural workers, artists, and intellectuals to actively contribute to social cohesion and nation building by giving expression to the great diversity of views, traditions, cultures, and practices of the South African people. Lastly, comrades, we call on South African people to join us as we advance towards a better society, a society that is founded on principles of unity, democracy, non-racialism, non-sexism, and equality. In recognition of the tasks set by the 54th National Conference of the ANC and the ideals for which our movement was founded, and in recognizing the challenges that we face and the tasks that we must undertake, the ANC National Executive Committee declares 2020 as the year of unity, socio-economic renewal, and nation building. That is what the ANC National Executive Committee believes that we should focus on this year: unity, socio-economic renewal, and the continued building of our nation. And with that, we say, let freedom reign. Amandla. The ANC lives. Forward with the African National Congress, forward. Forward with the people of North Cape, forward. Vorentoe met die mense van die Noord-Kaap, vorentoe. Vorentoe met die Noord-Kaap, vorentoe. Thank you very much for being at this celebration, and we say happy birthday, ANC, happy birthday.
Okay.